all tuned to the same notes, and why those notes, not others? What is harmony, and how does it work? Some of these questions have been answered in the books you will find in the physics section of the library, filed under Musical Acoustics. The only problem is that the technical nature of the subject has meant that these books use lots of math and complicated graphs in their explanations. Books full of graphs and math have a limited readership, and this is why the only people who seem to know anything about how music works are a few badly dressed academics, and I speak with some authority here as a badly dressed academic myself. When I first started to study the physics and psychology of music, I thought it would be straightforward. How much can there be to understand about how saxophones and harps make different sounds, or why we use scales? Then I started reading. Some of the things I had thought I understood, like loudness, for example, were bizarrely complicated and much more interesting than I thought they would be. To aid my own understanding, I began to condense the information into simpler explanations. Eventually, I realized that most of this knowledge could be presented clearly to any listener who has no musical or technical training, but simply loves music. So, I started to put together the notes that eventually grew into this audiobook. Even some top-class musicians are not familiar with the basic underlying facts about music. They play their instruments and produce the correct notes in the right order without wondering how or why their instruments were designed to produce those particular notes and not others. It's as if the musicians are acting like waiters. They deliver the meal to us, and the food is put together by chefs, composers, from boxes of ingredients, but no one knows how or why those ingredients became available in the first place. I think it's a shame that something as popular as music has had so much mystery attached to it. In writing this audiobook, I haven't used any math, graphs, or written music, and I have kept the style conversational. By exploring the basic facts behind what notes are and how they can move you to dance, kiss, or weep, you'll discover that many of the mysteries of music turn out to be perfectly understandable, and you'll be delighted to hear that your newly acquired understanding won't stop you from dancing, kissing, or weeping. My aim is to show you, both musicians and non-musicians, that music can be understood on a very fundamental level. This level of understanding can deepen our enjoyment of music in the same way that some knowledge of how shadows are created or how perspective works can enhance our enjoyment of a painting. Some people worry that understanding more about music will reduce the pleasure they get from it. But the reverse is true. Learning how a complicated dish is prepared makes you appreciate it even more, and doesn't change how good it tastes. Though this is an audio program about all music, I have concentrated on Western music of all types, from Frank Sinatra, U2, and Beethoven to nursery rhymes and film music. All these styles of music, from punk rock to opera, follow the same rules of acoustics and mood manipulation. There are complicated, overlapping layers of musical appreciation and understanding. At first glance, you might think that the performing musician knows more about the music than a listener who can't play an instrument, but this isn't necessarily true. A non-musician who is a fan of the piece being played might know a lot more about how the music should sound than a performer who is playing it for the first time. As a listener, you understand a lot about music already, but a lot of your knowledge is hidden on a subconscious level. This audiobook will help to explain and clarify all this stuff, and I hope it will give you a few, so that's how it works, moments. But enough of the preamble. Let's get on with the ambling. What is music? The conductor, Sir Thomas Beecham, was always keen on sharing his views on music. For example, brass bands are all very well in their place, outdoors and several miles away. This is more than a little harsh on brass bands, but it does show that music can produce strong negative feelings as well as positive ones. When it comes to music, we all have our favorites and intense dislikes. So, no definition of music can include words like beauty and pleasure.